a quest to find the most popular ergonomic keyboard in the world. At first, we thought of packing light and visiting all 195 countries to do our research. But it turns out we had burned our marketing budget designing the Dygma 3000, money well spent, and we only had $100 left. Well, that's not enough to travel the world, but is it enough to buy an ergonomic keyboard on Amazon? Hi Digmates, I'm Dominique, and today we're going to give a full review of the Logitech K860, the most popular ergonomic keyboard on Amazon. But why is it so popular? Is it even that good? And most importantly, could we improve it? Before we get our hands dirty, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and comment below on what you want us to review next. The Logitech K860 was introduced in 2019. Drawing inspiration from acclaimed keyboards like the Microsoft Sculpt and the Kinesis Advantage 2, it inherited the split layout design and the integrated wrist rests for added comfort. On Amazon, it has more than 6,653 reviews with a 4.6 rating. But why is it so popular? And is it really the best ergonomic keyboard? Well, for starters, it's from a renowned peripheral brand that has recently been upping its game in ergonomic peripherals. If you already use a Logitech ergonomic mouse like the popular MX Vertical, you might trust them when getting an ergonomic keyboard. Another factor is the familiarity. Besides the split layout and the wrist rests, the K860 looks very similar to a traditional keyboard. For new users who've started their ergonomic journey, it's less challenging to adapt to. Unlike other ergonomic keyboards, it has a full-size layout, so you still have your arrow keys, the F keys, and a number pad. So, what do you say? Let's open it up and see what's inside. Okay, it's not the most exciting experience, but it's cool that all the containers are made of recycled materials. You also have to remember that this keyboard is designed to provide ergonomics on a budget, so it makes sense that the money is not spent on fancy packaging. The weight is a bit heavy for a non-mechanical keyboard. It's 1,093 grams. For reference, a full-size mechanical keyboard is 1,217 grams. The race is 836 grams, palm pads included, but it's a 60% keyboard. The keycaps are made of ABS recycled plastic. The legends are silk screen printed. It's the same process used on most laptop keycaps. Unfortunately though, with time, these legends will fade. Let's pop one off and take a look at the switches. Oh, okay, so it has chiclet switches, which is an evolution of old membrane keyboards. Membrane keyboards have no tactile feedback. Chiclet keyboards add a rubber dome on the top, giving it a bump on each key press. Let's test it out. Nice, so it's very intuitive, user-friendly, it's easy to set up, and it connects immediately to the computer. It works with RF and Bluetooth up to 3 devices. For power, it uses 2 AAA batteries. Logitech claims it can work for 2 years, after which you can simply replace them. I guess it should be feasible since the keyboard has no LEDs except for the caps lock and the indicator light for Bluetooth. Now, let's type on this thing. The Logitech K860 has a fixed split layout with 8 degrees of tenting. This helps with 2 things: ulnar deviation and hand pronation. Ulnar deviation is when you bend your wrists outwards, but with the split layout, it's easier to keep your hands aligned with your forearms. Hand pronation is when your palms are facing down, making the bones on your arms cross, which pinches the muscles around your wrists. Tenting alleviates that. However, it's essential to understand that to find your perfect typing position, you need to consider 3 axes: the X, the Y, and the Z. Ideally, the higher the tenting angle, the closer the halves must be along the x-axis. On the contrary, if the tenting angle is not that high up on the y-axis, like this, it would be more comfortable if the halves were farther apart on the x-axis. The Logitech has a very small split, so it forces you to be in this position, where your arms are closer together than how you'd want them to be. We made a video dedicated to this if you want to learn more about the ergonomics behind tenting. Nevertheless, this is much better than a conventional keyboard. Just take a look at the angle of your wrists while typing. Another critical thing to consider is that this is a tall keyboard. The low profile switches and keycaps help, but this is 4 centimeters. To account for this, you can push the keyboard farther up the z-axis and rest your elbows on the table. But looking at my wrists, you can see why this is not 100% comfortable. What if I adjust the height of my chair? Okay, this is much better. You can see that my wrists are now aligned with my forearms. No flexion or extension. With your chair a bit higher, you can now try one of the best features of this keyboard, reverse tilting. There are 2 different angles, 4 and 7 degrees. Nice! That's very ergonomic. However, if you're sitting at a desk, you might face the same problem of your elbows being lower than your hands and pressing your wrist against the wrist rest. On a standing desk, however, this can come in handy. Nice! So the palm pads help you place your hands comfortably on the keyboard. They're soft enough and the surface is quite smooth. Okay, now that I'm comfortable, let's talk about the typing experience. Okay, so the keys are light and the bump is not too hard. The travel distance is similar to laptops, but not as lovely as the tactility of the Apple Magic Keyboard, let's be honest.
Simply lovely.
However, I noticed one problem. Whenever I need to use the mouse, it feels just so far away. Well, that's partly because I'm used to a 60% keyboard, but it's also because the Logitech is wider than a full-size keyboard. Let's move now to another cool feature of this keyboard. It comes with the configuration software, Logitech Options, that lets you customize the keys' functions. Okay, so you need to create an account and log in. I'm just gonna fast forward this process. Alright, so you can only modify 16 keys in the upper row, the function keys, which, might I add, have extra options. You can opt to use their default functions or customize them. You can add your own shortcuts or reorganize the media keys, open files or apps. So if you could do this for the entire keyboard, that would be pretty awesome. So what are our thoughts? Considering that at around $100, this is a relatively cheap ergonomic keyboard, we can understand why it's the most popular ergonomic keyboard on Amazon. Yes, the fixed split and the tenting can be improved. The keycaps are pretty underwhelming and the typing experience of the chiclet switches is not the best. Still, you're getting many ergonomic features for that amount of money. It has a split layout, tenting, and reverse tilting, which is not that common even in premium ergonomic keyboards. Don't worry, you'll have it soon. Plus, the wireless connectivity is reliable, the layout is familiar, so it's easy to get used to for new ergo enthusiasts. Also, Logitech is a recognizable brand, so I can see why a lot of people like it. The only question that remains is, could we make it better while keeping it an entry-level ergonomic keyboard? First, we changed the switches from chiclet to low-profile hot-swappable mechanical switches. Why? Well, it's a small detail, but if ergonomics is all about efficiency and comfort, having switches that suit you best and that you find the most comfortable is always a win. And with hot swappable switches, you can try out different types of switches with different operating forces, actuation distances, and whatnot. This would make it a little bit more expensive, but we think it's worth it. Second, we changed the space bars and turned them into multiple thumb keys. Instead of having one key on each side, we'd probably make 3. If you place your hand on the home row, you'll see that your thumbs are right in the middle of these keys. So you could split this into 3 and maximize this real estate. Of course, we'll also need to make the keys fully programmable to make the most out of them. Fourth, we would narrow the keyboard by removing the whole number pad section. That will make it easier to reach for the mouse. But we'd need to relocate the arrow keys somewhere, and some people would miss the number pad. But now that it's fully programmable, you can just put those in another layer. Fifth, making the split 5 inches wider would probably be better. Right now, the fixed split gives a 3.9-inch distance from the F to J keys. If the average male chest circumference... Can it just be you? If the average male chest circumference is 41.7 inches, then the diameter needs...
Hey! What are you doing?
An experiment. So we would want the split to be at least 8 inches apart. With the split a bit wider, we then go to our 6th recommendation. Put a trackpad in the middle. This will save you time moving from your home row to your mouse. But to keep the keyboard affordable, we could make this as an option. Another thing we'd love to add if we didn't have budget constraints would be per key RGB. That would help you remember where your new custom keys are, but maybe we can offer it as another extra. And now, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Dygma Joint 2.0. Broke a key. Yeah. Why do you laugh? You're not supposed to laugh. If the average male chest circumference... Right now... Chiclet switch. No, it just feels very refined.